Okay, let's take a look at this carpet bombing. This episode is sponsored by Explosions. So this is also one of the previews I did, which looks pretty cool. And the fact that we can do so many explosions in one sim, and it takes like 2 or 3 minutes to sim. It's not a perfect example. It has some issues, but I thought it was looking pretty cool. And this is this preview I did right before I started recording. Yep. It's pretty good, pretty good. So let's take a look at how this was done. Similar setup than before, but right now I'm using a draw curve. What I like about this is that we can simply draw additional curves based on, well, it just gives you more artistic freedom, right? So you can say, I want more explosions happening here at the end. So we get a nice little shape, and that will spawn more explosions because we are creating more points, but that's completely fine. We can, the art direction aspect is worth it. Then I resample everything and I create a curve view attribute that I'm using the X position. So the curve view is going to go from 0 to 250. And we can check here. So 250 from 1 to 251. Pushing that into our start frame. So I'm using the start frame, and then you can use pattern type by float attribute, and you put in your float attribute, and that's gonna adjust it. I am multiplying it down by 0.5, which means that everything will happen a bit faster. So it won't take 250 frames, but it's actually gonna take twice less. Well, half that, sorry. So that's how you get the carpet bombing, which is a pretty cool effect. And again, like these pyro bursts are very versatile effects. Versatile for testing your workflows. It's pretty cool. And then we do the volume rasterize thing and rename everything like we were discussing before. And then I cache it. Guess it's a bit different. Well, yeah, I added those two curves. Once we have this cached, we go to our solver and we start bombing the place. Bam, 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 bam. So that's pretty cool. I'm not doing anything special in this one, guys. Honestly, we went through the settings needed for this. Let's see. So we checked all of this. I'm just using more turbulences that are a bit more aggressive. Combustion is set to frame step and it's exploding very fast. That's pretty much it. I'm not doing anything. Not outputting temperature in this case, although we could. And then caching it. It's looking a bit different, right? Let's recache it. And we get something like this. So you can see I am maybe abusing the pressure here a bit in the beginning. So these are ballooning out a bit too much. But honestly, if you look at references of explosions, they do balloon out like this. It just sometimes it happens a lot faster. So that you don't even see it. And in a lot of cases like this, these would be, you know, they would have fire, and you can add the scatter and maybe add some debris and then some camera shake and maybe retime them so they're a bit faster, and these would be looking pretty sweet. But that's just another example I wanted to show you guys, and we're going to provide the HIP files like always. I think that was it for this one. Oh, maybe one thing that I forgot to mention in the previous examples is if you want to, I did mention it, but let's reiterate. So when you're creating your masks, let's say in this case, I'm using temperature as the mask for all the turbulences. The best way to visualize your temperature is like this. So you can see I'm just exporting temperature and putting it into this field. So wherever there's white, that's where we're going to be applying the turbulences. So that's a good way to visualize it. Now I did show how to visualize velocity before, but let's do it another way. Let me output velocity here as well. And I will do a VDB analysis. And let's plug in velocity. Let's calculate the length and let's call it speed. And let's use the volume and put this to speed. So now we have the same visualization, but now we're visualizing the speed of our velocity. In this way, we can also say, we can decide where we want our, let's say, disturbance to work. So we only want it to work at the highest levels, the fastest levels of our simulation. So you can see only this top will be disturbed if we use the, let's say, disturbance. Let's do it on this one. So I'm already using velocity here. So let's base relative references and let's put it to a crazy value just so we can see that it's working. Oh yeah, that's definitely working. So let's disable everything else but this disturbance. And maybe, push it down a bit. So you can see it's only affecting the tip and everything else it's already not affecting. Like if, for instance, this part is not moving fast enough. But this is just how you would layer your disturbances and use different control fields for them. And obviously, if you want this to be affected as well, you could go here and be like, okay, so actually I want these areas to have just a bit of disturbance. And now that's going to be disturbed as well. And that's a quick and easy way to see where your masks are affecting your simulation.